Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, and welcome to Talking with Teachers. Alhamdulillah. Today we have another very special guest. Shaykh Mufti Muhammad ibn Adam Al-Kawthari is a traditionally trained Islamic scholar who has studied in different parts of the world, including the UK, Pakistan, and Syria. He has received authorizations to teach various Islamic disciplines, including the 6 major collections of hadith and the science of issuing religious verdicts, otherwise known as fatwa or iftah. He is a teacher of various traditional Islamic sciences and the director and researcher at the Institute of Islamic Jurisprudence, called or known as Darul Ifta, located in Leicester, UK. The Shaykh perhaps doesn't really remember, but the very first time, and perhaps the only time we've met, was in 2016 at the RIS, the Reviving Islamic Spirit Conference in Toronto. I was sort of a fly on the wall, so there's no reason for him to recall me, but, so it does give me great pleasure to introduce Shaykh Muhammad bin Adam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. شيخ Abdullah bin Hamid Ali, mashallah, barakallah fikum. Jazakumullah khair habibi.
Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
MashaAllah, Shaykh. We really do appreciate you taking out the time. I know you're extremely busy. Of course, there's a lot more I could have mentioned about your bio, your background, and then we know that you've been traveling with some of the important ulama. And, so we wanted to offer an opportunity to our audience to learn some things about you. And I think, of course, a number of years has gone by, and I think that that a lot of, especially younger Muslims, are a bit unacquainted with some of the very important figures like yourself, where I consider to be extremely important. But I was wondering if you might have something to say about your upbringing, your background, and sort of introduce yourself. Who would, or how you describe who is Muhammad ibn Adam al-Kawthari, and I'm assuming there's some connection to the great Zahid al-Kawthari, but Shaykh Muhammad Zahid al-Kawthari, rahimahullah, as well. But of course we can find that out whatever you like to share with us. Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah wa ba'd. This is a very interesting first question, which I've been asked on many occasions before in terms of the name. I mean, the name itself, it's a long name. Sometimes when people have to write on the flyers and the posters, they have to write a very long name, and because there's Muhammad, there's Ibn, and there's Adam, and then there's Al-Kawthari. There's so much in it. But each part of it is actually important, and that's why I tell people to ensure to write the full name. My original first name is only Muhammad. We have this in some of the subcontinent communities, especially within the around subcontinent communities, within the Indian background communities, that they name their children just Muhammad. In some other communities, they name them Muhammad something. They always have some Muhammad before their name, but some other communities, they only keep their names of the children just only Muhammad only. And my father kept my name only Muhammad. So if I tell people, if there's only one name you want to call me with, Muhammad, that's my name. People sometimes call me Mufti Adam and Ibn Adam, and I say Muhammad is very, very important. That's actually my real only name. And then because if I put Muhammad Adam, people would start calling me Adam. So that's why I make sure that I put Ibn in.
Ibn Adam.
It's not Adam. People call me Mufti Adam sometimes, but Adam is my father's name. Right. My father recently actually passed away exactly just under 1 year ago, in this month of Sha'ban last year. He was actually 26th of Sha'ban, just 3-4 days before Ramadan last year, at the age of 86, Islamically at the age of 89.
MashaAllah.
And my father was very well known, great scholar of locally known. He worked in this community in this area for good 48, 50 years in the UK. He moved to the UK in 1976. This is where I'm sitting on this up at the class, the number of boys' school, girls' school, and the boys' room and girls' room. This whole establishment started many, many years ago. And he attached himself just to this place and stayed in this one place for nearly 50 years. MashaAllah. So, and he was well renowned, well respected. He originally is from India. Background is from India. He studied in India. He was born and raised in India. Graduated from the great Darul Ifta Seminary. Many, I think it was, in the 60s, early 60s. And then he taught there, etc. And then after that, he moved to Africa. He was in Malawi, which is a country next to Zambia, South Africa. He was an imam there for a good 7 years. And mashallah, he changed the landscape of that country as well when he went there. I wasn't there, and my siblings were there. I was born in England, but when I was recently on a journey to Africa, I was in Zambia, and I had people coming to meet me just because of my father, and they said, "Oh, your father." They came from Malawi, and even in Zambia, there were people, scholars coming. There was one or two scholars who actually came from Malawi to Zambia, and they said, "We completed the Quran. We memorized the Quran by your father, and what he did here from 1970 to 76 changed the landscape of Malawi." And then he came to the UK and mashallah established this whole and well renowned. I mean, when his janazah took place here, probably it was the largest janazah people think in the UK. We had approximately 15 to 20,000 people.
Astaghfirullah. Yeah, I read somewhere that they named the street after him there.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, just here, there's a square. So the local community council, they called it Sheikh Adam Square. This was whilst he was alive, 4 or 5 years before he passed away, because of his lifetime of service and in this community. So, mashallah, I mean, he kept himself, but a very pious, righteous man, very pious. He was not, on social media or in the mainstream, and that's why a lot of people in this world of social media and the internet world didn't see him or know him much. But grassroots levels and especially in the 70s, 80s, 90s, mashallah, he did a lot of work of deen, a lot of work.
Yeah, mashallah, barakallah. Yeah, so I'm assuming that he put you on the path of knowledge very early in your life.
Yeah, from a young age. I mean, the whole family, it's basically just family with this ilm and scholarship. So all my siblings have all studied Dars Nidami, graduated as scholars. I am third of the 3 brothers, 3 sons of my father. So all of them have memorized the Quran. All of them are scholars. All of them are working in deen. I have 2 sisters who are also scholars and graduated. And then even, my nephew, nieces in the family, more or less everybody's memorized the Quran. So from a young age, I just grew up in a household of scholars, and my father was a scholar and an imam of the mosque and a teacher. So from a young age, I actually started memorizing the Quran when I was about 6 years of age. I completed when I was about 9. So it was the only thing I saw when I grew up was knowledge, ilm, scholars. People, different scholars from different parts of the world used to come and visit our house. So I saw them as well. Salah. This was my father, Maulana Adam, rahimahullah. And then just to finish up your last part, the last part of the name, you were saying Al-Kawthari. A lot of people ask this. A lot of people, even now, recent people ask me. I once wrote a small answer, which was online, Sunni path somewhere, and then I think it got removed as well. But it's not that significant. It's there's a few reasons. It's not a family name. It's not a family name. But what happened was when I was studying in Syria, I published 1 or 2 Arabic books, and the publishers told me that, look, you need to have Muhammad bin Adam something like a nisbah, just so that we have a proper name, because everybody has like a nisbah. So do you want to put something like a nisbah? Al-Birtani, I didn't like that song. What me British? I mean, we are born and bred here, raised in Britain, and I just didn't like that bit of part. Al Hindi. Then I said, I'm not even born in India. I've only been there when I was a child once, so I'm not really Hindi as well. So then they said to me that, look, have a nisba. Like a lot of the people have nisba, which is not to where they live, but some sort of, Islamic nisba. Um, so then I thought about it, and then there was a couple of two, three reasons. One, you mentioned that Imam Muhammad Zahid Al-Kawthari, well, I used to read a lot of books, and I like his books. So that was one of the reasons that I kept in mind that, okay, yes, I like his books and some his works that follow. But there were some one or two other reasons as well. There was a teacher in Syria once, I don't know, out of nowhere, he just said, "Anta al-Kawthar," you know, "Fik al-Khair al-Kathir, Anta al-Kawthar." Kawthar. Just give me a name. So I just used that. And then there was also one of the institutes we study in. It's like informally, some people who study graduate there, they are informally, not officially called Gotham as well. So they were like a mixture of reasons, and I just actually very, not in a very serious way, very sort of informal way. I just used it once or twice with my name, and then it just became attached.
Well, mashallah, as it was still something. There's some greatness there. I think that there's that the person who actually suggested that to you, I think that was very wise on their part. Because when I haven't seen you in years, at least not publicly at any of the conferences and things like that. I haven't gone to conferences myself, but typically people post videos and But I do remember you're very energetic speaker, very charismatic, and very enjoyable to listen to. And so add on top of that, of course, your qualifications, of course, لا نزكي على الله أحدا, naturally, but mashallah, it's may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he eternalize the benefit from you and from your father as well, rahimahullah. So yeah, it's just it's really interesting, the issue of names and what a lot of people don't realize about me as well. I have a similar story, that like that, because like Abdullah bin Hamid Ali is, it's not my legal.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. Yes, but Hamid, of course, is my father, and some similar reasons I like to highlight, remind people that, yeah, I have a father. I take pride in who my father was. And of course, it's not in the same way that you do, because of course you're talking about a tradition of, perhaps even centuries, of a generational sort of scholars in your family. And I think that, and this is one thing, of course, of a lot of converts, and I'm not a convert myself, but my father was a convert, my mother was a convert, my grandmother was a convert, and in the Black American community, we wished, that a day would come where we could say that, yeah, that that I'm a scholar, son of a scholar, who was the son of a scholar. Of course, you never said or say that you're a scholar naturally, because I was tawada, but fundamentally, that itself is something to take great pride in. And I think it's I've noticed it, especially among a number of Desis who I know who have traditional training like yourself, like, very good friend of mine, perhaps I imagine you know him as well, Imam Tahir Anwar, right? Who also has a number of brothers as well, similar to yourself, who've studied the Quran and among other things, and they're imams. And Mufti Abdurrahman bin Yusuf, I also interviewed him, and he talked about a similar history, right, along those lines, what my legal name is Abdel Gamal, right? And I remember there was an African American scholar who studied in Sudan some years, for about 16 years. This was back when I think I was a teenager or something like that. And he asked me what my name was, and I told him my name is Abdel Gamal. And he said, Abdel Gamal. They said, well, Gamal is not one of Allah's names. This Abdul Gamil, maybe Abdullah. So at that moment, I just said the last word to Abdullah. And I've never told this story until now, right? Yeah, so now people who are gonna watch this video, they'll know that that's where I call myself Abdullah. So I just say Abdullah in this country, and I just sort of added where I want to identify with my father as well, to highlight who my father was. So yeah.
My son's name is Abdullah.
MashaAllah, subhanAllah. Yeah, alhamdulillah. So you started at 6, memorizing the Quran, finished by 9. And what about the rest of your studies? How did that sort of pan out? Yeah. So after you memorized the Quran, what else did you do after that? Yeah. Uh,
Yeah. So I memorized the Quran and I studied the basics, with my father, etc.
Okay. Okay.
And then I actually enrolled. In an Islamic institute seminary here in the UK, Darul Ifta. You just mentioned Shaykh Kawthari Abdullah Yusuf. He also studied there. We were studying at the same time there.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent good 7-8 years. The main person who started that was also somebody who passed away, one of our sheikhs and teachers, Shaykh al-Hadith Maulana Yusuf Mutala, rahimahullah. Also very luminary scholar of the UK. Came from India, but in the 60s and established this Darul Al-Arabiya al-Islami in the Bury district near Manchester, northern part of the UK. So I spent good 8 years down there, boarding madrasa. I used to come home, of course, every so often as kids, but spent some good time there studying the full Dars Nidami, Arabic language, Nahwa, Sarf, grammar, Usul al-Hadith, Usul al-Fiqh, Aqidah, Hadith, Tafsir, all the different various subjects. And also a bit of Ifta as well. I graduated from there after 7-8 years studying there. And then after that, I went to Pakistan to study. This was towards the end of the 90s. So I went to Pakistan and because I really wanted to study by Shaykh Mufti Muhammad Taqi Uthmani Hafidhullah. I used to read his book. So I actually thought that, no, I have to go to his seminary. I need to study there. Around 1998, I went to Pakistan. I studied there. I did a bit of takhasus al-fiqh wal-ifta down there. And then I came back, and then I just still thought that I'm still young. I don't want to stop here. Let me experience something slightly different because I've just experienced so far just the Indian subcontinent seminary kind of flavor so far, whether in the UK and even in Pakistan. So I thought, where shall I mean, there was a few ideas. I was discussing with my father, but my father left it to me. SubhanAllah, one thing, my father, in terms of studying, he never sort of forced me to study here or there or go this way or that way. He left it for me. As long as I study. And he actually supported me and funded me as well. Wherever I went, he said, "Look, you study, I'll fund you fully. No problem. But as long as you're studying." So there were different things in mind. Where I should go, what should I do? Egypt, Azhar came into consideration, but I just didn't feel like going there. Some of our Darul Bari UK graduates used to go and study in Medina al Munawwara as well, at the Jamia Islamiyah, even in those days. Even though there was a bit of methodology difference, but because main fundamental reason was being able to stay in the city of Allah's Messenger was the main goal. And then secondly, because they were very firmly grounded in their own methodology, so they wouldn't be really affected and influenced by a different methodology or something. So that's why some of them went there. So that was also under consideration. But then I just came to know of Syria. I had some friends who were studying there. And many of our students and graduates at that time wouldn't be going to Syria or didn't know much about Syria, especially from our seminary background. But I went there, checked it out, and I said, I want to. And I think it was a great decision I made. Alhamdulillah. I think one of the best decisions we made because it just opened up a different whole world to me. And, I had to see and meet and experience different scholars, different mashayikh. And I think whatever I have been able to do as khidmah after completing my studies, one of the big reasons was the study in Syria. That really gave me a really different perspective. And it gave me a different mixture. And that opened the doors for, knowing and understanding and looking at different scholars. And then I did visit these other countries afterwards as well, not to study, but just to go and meet the ulama and shuyukh, like Yemen, like Egypt. I went to these places. But the basis and the catalyst for that was Syria. Alhamdulillah, Syria, 2 years, amazing years in the Sham. People like Osama Rifa'i, who just in Turkey. I used to attend every day after Fajr, I used to attend his lessons.
Mm.
Shaykh Al-Khatib, who actually is a very good friend of mine. I met him in Turkey a few months back, and I regularly talk to him. He was actually a friend / teacher because he was young that time, not much older than me, I think. But one-on-one, I used to go to his house and read some books with him. He just gave the Jumu'ah khutbah at the Umayyad Masjid yesterday. Moved.
Mashallah.
He just moved back from Turkey to
Mhm.
Sheikh Muhammad Mujir Al-Khatib. But before, the older scholars as well, Sheikh Abdul Al-Halabi, Sheikh Nuruddin Aitar, Sheikh Abdullah Al-Hassani, all of them, alhamdulillah, Sheikh Wahab Al-Zuhairi, even Sheikh Dr. Sa'id Ramadan Al-Bhuti.
Yes.
I used to attend his Jumu'ah khutbahs and Sheikh Quraym Rajih, all these scholars. I attended many of the lessons and many of the classes, and alhamdulillah, tried to benefit from it.
Right. Yeah, mashallah, that's really a blessing to have the opportunity to interact with so many of these major ulama. I mean, of course, that's something that, of course, I'm envious of, right? But of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He chooses, yeah, I actually was, as you spoke and listed these names, there's a particular question that I had originally planned to ask later, but since you sort of talked about the traditional ulama, I wanted to get your thoughts on, one, whether or not you feel that traditional ulama have become somewhat irrelevant to the masses. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, right? And if so, why do you think that may be, right? Because my impression is that, of course, after the Arab Spring, especially, that these traditionally trained ulama have, I guess you'd say that they haven't really been sought out for counsel and leadership, on the level that perhaps they were before that, or at least not certain scholars who we would generally uphold as the leading scholars in the Muslim world. I guess that's my impression. I could be wrong about that, but what's your impression of that situation?
I don't think in the main, in general,
Mm,
traditional ulama and traditional scholars of the world, they've lost their credibility or spirituality. I don't think so.
mm,
Uh, it just depends, because what's happening, we're in this new, modern, fast-moving world that's just moving so fast. We started from emails to Twitter to Facebook to talk to AI now. Like, it's just so fast moving and it's difficult to keep up. And one of the reasons is that older people, it's difficult for them to move as quick, as fast than the younger generation. So you've got, like, our children probably are faster than us with the different gadgets. They're faster. And so you get like late teens and early 20s. They're more fast with AI and things like that than people in their 40s or 50s or 60s. It's very difficult. So I think that's the main reason, because nowadays the whole dawah scene, it's all online. All become online. All classic and traditional scholars used to be in real communities. Scholars used to be generally in real communities. Yeah, and that's how they used to influence and affect. But now, the modern world, how it is just what appeals to people. So someone doesn't have a traditional background or doesn't have a proper scholarship or credibility, we'll just start a YouTube channel.
Yes.
We'll go on. We'll have a TikTok account, and we'll just do dawah, etc. And then if it's appealing to people, people just flock and they just follow, and there's likes and followers, and it's just a different world.
Right.
But still, in the main, so I think the only way this is that we do whatever we can do, keep up, but it's not in our hands. I mean, we try our best. Hidayah is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the effort, we just have to put in the effort to it. But I still think traditional means should still be used. Like, for example, writing of books.
Yes.
That, throughout our history, one of the main things, like right now, look, you're sitting there, mashallah, in the camera, behind you are books. I've got books behind me. All these great Imams, Ibn Hajar and Nawawi and Ibn Kathir and Tahawi and all of them. We don't see no TikToks of them, no YouTube, nothing, nothing, no sound or voice. The only thing we know, we see the books. And that's been throughout history the main way of preaching and disseminating of knowledge and reaching out to people. And I think that still exists till today. Even in this world, writing is everlasting. It lasts till Yawm al-Qiyamah. Look at Imam al-Bukhari when he passed away. There is no day, I don't believe there's no day, maybe there's no hour on planet Earth where someone somewhere in some part of the world is not actually reading or teaching or studying Sahih al-Bukhari. And he passed away in grave. And look at so much rewards, constant rewards. So I think, we really need to still concentrate on the writing of the books, and inshallah that's one of the ways, and try our best, inshallah.
Yeah, mashallah. Thank you for that. I guess, and I was thinking there's some of the same ideas. I guess you say our ideas sort of, there's some overlap, and I was thinking about, okay, well, maybe it's because of the technologies that plays a major role of that, major part of that, like for instance, like I see you, and of course I know you don't interact very much on like, social media, and it's fine, for you not to do so, but I at the same time sort of feel like, okay, well, there should be a lot more people following you, right? And I say, well, why did not more people know about you? And that was actually one of the reasons why I felt like, no, I really need to try to interview him, right? And I think, especially these younger generations, hopefully I can figure out a way where we can present, I guess you would say and again, we're not, I'm not trying to sort of praise you to your face so much, but it's, and the same thing for all the others that I try to interview, is that, better alternatives than are available because of certain people being more effective at the use of this technology, and I guess you'd say more attuned to the base desires, the base impulses of people, and they know how to sort of tap into that a bit better, right? In other words, and of course, there's a lot of negativity. Certain people who are sort of looked upon as being our community's leaders, that many of them are, just really not qualified, one, to really speak authoritative about Islam, but then two, have a tendency to create more harm than benefit. At least a lot of people I'm thinking about, and I just, I think that, in my opinion, and I feel that this is something universal. I actually feel that I'm stating a fact when I say this, which is that the outside community, they will judge us by the most prominent people who actually are members of our community. So if someone doesn't know anything about Islam, but they know someone who's a popular Muslim, and that popular Muslim has some very bad opinions, or they have very bad adab, for instance, then the non-Muslims generally will judge our community by who those people are, right? And then I'll also look at the fact that, okay, well, a lot of Muslims who actually are following those people, and they'll say, well, why are Muslims attracted to these type of people, right? And I just think that we have to do something, right, to at least try to do something to mitigate the stereotypes that develop from those type of phenomena, right? So anyway, so that's part of what drives me to try to make this a sort of a successful podcast. And it's only been a little bit more than a year. I'm still growing slowly. Not a lot of people, watch it. But more people watch it than, it appears, because I'm constantly coming across people who tell me, hey, well, I watched the episode the other day and I saw it, I really like it. So, and it's something very new for me as well, because I'm not accustomed to interviewing people, so I'm getting better with it at time, but it's mainly, I try to feature the guests more so than myself. Right. So. At least that's my intention.
No, mashallah, it's great. I mean, I had an opportunity to just briefly look at one of the podcasts, mashallah. I mean, it's great. Alhamdulillah, you seem like a very seasoned person, mashallah. So, let follow up on this. I think that we've got these two now, sort of challenges. Because as a da'i or a talib ilm or a scholar or imam, one is to teach and preach and give out ilm and knowledge to the masses. But at the same time, also be clued up with modern technology. Sometimes it's difficult to do both. Like, how can you, spend time on, like, for example, if you're preparing to teach a course, you would prepare teaching that, but then, all the technology aspects, you need both as well.
Yes. Right.
Then the challenge is double now.
Yeah. But inshallah, in time, inshallah. And so you spoke about books, right? So, which is, I think, is a good segue. And so, and you've written a number of books, and I think perhaps your most popular book is the one called "Islamic Guide to Sexual Relations." At least to me, in my mind, my thinking is that that's probably the most popular one, and I think because it's the most we'll call like clickbaity sort of that type of title, but it's not really clickbait, in the way that people understand it, in this, because it has substance. It's a book that of substance, and I remember when that book first was published that I was a bit, surprised, but it's, pleasantly surprised that, that someone, of course, from a traditional Muslim background, from a very conservative Muslim sort of environment, would be open to speaking about this particular topic, right? Which is seems to be very taboo, right? To talk about those things. And of course, and there are a number of scholars who've written about these things over the years. We know, I mean, this Ahkam al-Jima' or sort of Adab al-Jima'. I mean, you find that in a number of books, and so a lot of Muslims, I think, don't really know about this. But I do think that for young Muslims who don't have any sort of experience, right, to get some sort of like direction. I mean, what drove you to even write that book?
Yeah, no, subhanAllah, as you say, the main reason was that I used to receive a lot of questions on this topic, because I've been answering questions since after I finished studying from the early 2000, 2003, 4, started writing questions, just answering questions via email. And, I used to answer questions for those website called Sunni Pack. You probably know Sunni Pack. Started from there. One of my friends, Shaykh Kawthari, mashallah, who I've known for many, many years. He is the one who actually put me into answering these questions. And he said, look, I will send you 3-4 questions per week. Take your time, answer them, and send them back to me. And okay. That was the first time I was getting used to, even typing, 2003, 4, typing on my computer that time. So, and then, we established our own Darul Ifta website and Q&A website. So people used to ask a lot of questions. And now, with the nature of questions was that because people, they're anonymous, so they just have the name, they're not in person, people can ask questions that they would sometimes may feel embarrassed or shy about asking in person. So there were many questions of this nature relating to intimacy between husband and wife. So I used to just make a note of these questions on the side. I wrote some answers which were on the website, but some of them I didn't even put them on the website, but I made a note of them. That, look, these are the questions that people are asking. And once I got like a list of issues, and I thought, look, maybe this should be sort of written in a book format, because it's something that a lot of people ask about and they want to know. But like you said, it's a taboo subject, and I myself felt at the beginning, should I be writing about this? Can I write about this? What will the reaction of the people be? Will there be a backlash, etc.? So I did istikhara. I spoke to one or two of some teachers, some friends, and they said, no, I don't think, as long as it's done with adab, with decorum, with decency, with haya, modesty, inshallah, it shouldn't be a problem. And that's why in the beginning I wrote an introduction where I talked about the importance of writing about this and not shying away from it. And as you just mentioned, giving examples of classical scholars, not just classical scholars, but from the Quran that talks about it specifically, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْمَحِيضِ قُلْ هُوَ أَذًى فاعتزلوا النساء سميت فأتوا حرثكم أن شئتم. That's a verse from the Quran. You know, so explicit, and the hadith is
Yeah.
so إذا جلس بين شعبها الأربعة, things like that. Then our scholars, Imam Ghazali has, آداب فصل في آداب المباشرة in
Yeah.
إحياء علوم الدين.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of books in Arabic, and if they can write it, then why should we feel that we are more pure than them?
Right. Yes.
Then I just wrote it, and Alhamdulillah, there has never been, there's been other things that I know people sometimes comment negatively here and there, but this is one thing that I've never had a negative comment to my knowledge. I mean, never. Rather, it was received very, very well, and people from all different backgrounds, Tullabul Ilm, scholars, everybody's welcome. I mean, from what I understand, many editions and many, many thousands of copies of this book have been published and have been sold and distributed. They call it the Red Book, mashallah. People know me. I've met Tullabul Ilm in different parts of the world, and they said when we were studying, every student had a book with them. Benefited people.
Yeah, mashallah. I mean, so it was. I read something that said it was also translated into German.
Yeah, it's been actually translated in more than one language. The German one's published, but there's actually about 7 to 8 languages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so German was the first translation it's published, but also Russian and Uzbek languages, also Italian language, also Sri Lankan and Malay and Bangladesh. Yeah, there's 2 actually Bengali translations of the book.
Right.
So there's a few translations that I've been told about. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, mashallah. Yeah. Well, another somewhat pioneering book in English as well was your book. What was it? Birth Control and Abortion in Islam, and I think probably unknown to you, because this was White Thread Press, right?
Sure.
Right. Yeah, because Sheikh Mufti Abdurrahman at the time, right before publishing, he actually consulted me about the section on the Maliki, Fiqh al-Maliki. Yeah, I remember that.
I remember.
Right, right. Yeah. So So alhamdulillah, but we've done some work in a couple different books in the past. Myself and Mufti Abdurrahman. He also the Fiqh al-Akbar, translation of Fiqh al-Akbar. I remember also he had me read the manuscript. So it's been some years we've worked together, but back when first started a website, he used to really help me out quite a bit. And so yeah. So that book would have really come in handy, I think, during the most recent debates in the United States, especially, with Muslims, taking different sides on abortion, and I think that more and more people have been writing about the abortion issue. I think Dr. Salman Yunus did a very good job in his article. I typically utilize his article in my family law class at Zaytuna. When we cover abortion, his article, and also we look at Sheikh Hamza's, what he had to write about it as well, do sort of a comparison. But Dr. Salman's, I've written something about it as well. But I remember the very first time that the Muslims here in the United States who have become more and more political, right, over the years, had a negative thing to say about one of my own comments, which really wasn't related to abortion. I remember back when Trump he won in 2016, and they decided they're going to have a women's march against Trump, and so there was an article that come out, and there's a conservative woman who was anti-abortion. She was, so she actually wrote an article entitled, she said, "I would be at the women's march, but I'm not invited because I'm conservative or because I'm pro-life," right? And I posted this. All I did was post the article, right? And I wanted to really highlight the hypocrisy, right, of this. This is a women's march, but certain women are not allowed to come because, in other words, in order for you to qualify, you have to be pro-abortion, right? And so a Muslim sister, she's a professor, one of the universities here. She contacted me in private, and he says, "Oh, well, why are you posting this? In Islam, as Sunnis, abortion is not that big of a deal, right? I said, well, I mean, I wouldn't characterize it that way, but that actually wasn't the reason why I was even posted the article, So, but anyway, I just sort of wanted to mention that it's, it would have been nice to see someone quoting from your book and say, hey, well, the Shaykh Mufti Ibn Adam, he has his book, and anyone wants to, you find a resource, you can go read this book, and it'll help you out with this issue, But it became just a matter of sectarian, political partisanship, among Muslims.
Yeah, I mean, I did hear some of it, and I mean, even I think a couple of years back, I think Sheikh Hanzo Yusuf was trying to he contact me and about this topic because I wrote, and I don't know if he had certain issues with certain aspects of the book or what wanted to maybe add to it or something. Allahu alam. But somebody he got my number for somebody, but then I think dematerialized the discussion. But he's just because we mentioned Sheikh Hamza, he's always very endorsed very happily the Red Book. Actually, a few times he said to me, he said, anyone who meets me, this was many years back, I'd always recommend your book to them about the intimacy. He always, and he actually once told me, he said to me that next book, edition, I wouldn't mind writing a small forward to it and maybe cover porn aspect, which is very important. But that book, I wrote in 2008. White published it. Mufti Rahman, White Press. So it's a long time. 2008 and things have gone and we've just done a new edition, but it's not changed. We haven't changed any material in it. It's just a new edition. But I'm thinking maybe in the future, when we do another edition, then maybe add to it and enhance the book, inshallah, because things do change from 2008 to 2025, 26.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, things go, yeah, right. Now, and you've also written some books in Arabic, which I remember. I can't remember exactly what the book was, but I picked up a book one day. This was some years ago, and I was reading the introduction, and I remember that someone in the intro had thanked you, right? And I'll say, is that the same Muhammad ibn Adam Al-Kawthari? Do I know? And I believe it was you. We were talking about you, but you've written some books in Arabic as well, right?
Not written books. I've just sort of edited and annotated. Yes, a couple of books of some subcontinent scholars. One was in Nida issues, Mabahith fi Aqaid al-Sunnah, probably published from Jordan through Darul Ifta our friend Shaykh Kawthari, mashallah. So, it was a original book which was just available in the subcontinent in Arabic. I sort of re-edited it, published it, added to it, wrote introductions to it, annotated. So, not an actual ta'leef, tasneef, but more tahqiq, ta'liq on the book.
Right. Okay. MashaAllah. Yeah. Now, you've as you've highlighted, and as a lot of people know, that you've been able to be exposed to a lot of the major ulama. I mean, among them, of course, Mufti Muhammad Taqi Usmani. May Allah preserve him. I typically ask my guests if they have in mind or could mention maybe one or two people, or perhaps however many you'd like to mention, who you feel who have ideas, who have accomplished things, perhaps as well, which you think deserves for them a spot. I guess you say, or deserves for them favorable mention. Which it leads all of us to look deeper into who they are, and their history. So, is there any particular personalities, either past or even present, contemporary, who you think people need to know more about?
When this type of question comes up, I normally think that there's just so many amazing stars. Who do you pick and who do you leave out? It's just there are so many. But one great, you've mentioned Shaykh Mufti Darul Ifta Leicester. People know about him, and there's a lot of he's still alive, and a lot of his materials available. World-renowned scholar. For me, he is someone who I feel the most connection with, and I spent much time with. I was with him just recently in Africa, and before that, in Bulgaria, Italy, and Turkey. And I try to travel with him, and I have, alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed me with a, connection with him. But so I won't mention much about him. But other than him, from the recent past, a scholar that I absolutely adore and have read many of his books, and I feel is somebody of amazing ilm, knowledge, wisdom, hikmah, balance, i'tidal, just everything, is Shaykh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda.
No, Allah.
Allah. I mean, a lot of the students love him, to be honest.
Yes.
I have all his books here. When I was studying back in Syria, and I just would like to purchase every single book of Shaykh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda. All his tahqiq books, ta'liq books, annotated books, authored books. And when you read his books in Arabic, you learn so many different things. You learn ilm, of course, but at the same time, you learn Arabic, good Arabic, eloquence, a manner to speak. You learn balance. You learn style, and you learn, just elegance. In his writing, there's elegance. He was a man of elegance. I mean, his son once told me that we wouldn't even find like a crease on his thobe. His shoes were always polished. He had a special perfume made for him in Halab, Aleppo, that used to be made for him and sent to him, and he would only use that special perfumes. Everything in the house was very orderly fashion. He's got a very amazing book called Manners in Islam, Min Adab al-Islam, which is worth reading, and Value of Time, and just so many amazing books. He passed away. Is one person that I feel sad that I was not able to see or meet in my life. And he passed away in 97, which could have been possible. But
Yes.
even my teacher, Shaykh Mufti Usmani, Hafidhahullah, really mentions him with a lot of love and respect. He's in his Shaykh. So Shaykh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda, rahimahullah, from Aleppo, Syria, he was very balanced. Very balanced. That's what I like. Traditional, but very balanced. So he is somebody of recent past.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing choice. Yeah, I definitely do believe that. He's a man of great blessing and so much benefit, to all of us, and really appreciate you highlighting him. One final question.
Go
So of course you work at Darul Ifta, and of course you travel a lot. If someone wanted to follow your activities in particular, or would you say your work, is there some particular way that they can do so? Yeah, whatever. I mean, social media, website, or how would they know?
Yeah, I mean, normally I really, like you mentioned, I have Darul Ifta, which is a website. I'm not writing as many fiqh answers on there as I used to before, because we're busy nowadays. But people can ask questions through the email system on the website. But there's a lot of answers, fiqh-related answers, that I've been writing in the past 15 years on there. Actually, about good 800-900 answers, which could be articles. And hopefully, inshallah, I'm thinking of compiling these all together in sometime soon in the future.
Inshallah.
Edit them and then publish them as a 3-4 volume book, inshallah. So that the idea is there. But so through Darul Ifta. But then also social media that we have is like, I have a Twitter page, which people do. I always post on there if there's any programs or any travels or anything. Then always there's a Facebook page as well, and there's a Twitter page as well. And I believe there's also an Instagram page. One of my colleagues and students who actually runs it. But whatever's on Facebook and Twitter, put it on Instagram as well. So that's. Yeah, and then we also have our Darul Ifta YouTube channel where my lectures and talks are there as well, which get recorded and get uploaded by the brothers. So, alhamdulillah, those are the few places where people can follow, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Shaykh Mufti Muhammad ibn Adam Al-Kawthari, mashallah. Really do appreciate the time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless you and to protect you and bring benefit through you. Really do appreciate it. And, hopefully we have another opportunity to cross paths again in real life, as you say, because beyond the virtual world. And
We
inshallah.
met many years ago, but inshallah.
إن شاء الله بارك الله فيك إن شاء الله معك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and support. Check the links in the description below to keep up with our work. Thank you.